the old superintendent can overlap 1 week for an information exchange. And I think that would be very beneficial to the operation. This is a department that really doesn't have room for error. Things have to work, and well, this will help make that so. Other items in here, we've tried to estimate conservatively, which in this case means to try to make sure there's enough in the budget for things that may not be entirely predictable. We've made allowances for electricity. We have developed some track experience with electricity. The amount of money that we're sending to water bill is an area of concern. We've been putting more gallons through than we supposed we would. Nature gives us what nature gives us with regards to our stormwater collections. And an effort into the future will be the reduction of stormwater and I&I, that's infiltration, into the system, so that they're not paying for gallons. Dan can speak about areas in the system that, as time progresses, we can try to address the amount of gallonage that we're pumping. Dan, you could probably go on for quite some time with the difficulties that you've had to surmount recently. I'd like to stop talking and give you a chance to tell the council what's most important as you look at this last budget before your retirement, and things that you think they should probably hear. If you'd like to talk about it.
We've had a lot of problems getting the bugs out of the segment. Well, various items. But I think we're getting a handle on it now. Boyd's been working with me, and he's going to be taking over. So we're going to be in good hands. The I&I system is not a lot of it's solid drain. And get those out politically hard to do. I do know of some areas like Sawdell Road, that's manholes that need to be replaced. Oak Hill Drive is a big source of flow. But it takes money. These loans and everything, it's kind of hard to come up with money to do that. So we get some back.
One of the things I guess I should add, and Doug may want to offer some insight here too, I'm just going to move around so that at least this budget calls on us using about half the money in reserve that we have. That's more than we would normally recommend, for sure, but we've had at least a preliminary conversation with the council about doing that so that next year we can have one rate increase as opposed to seeking a rate increase this year, and then when we get our new rates from Waterville next year, which we don't know yet what they'll be, have to come back and ask for a rate again, and we were talking to the ratepayers then about rates increases 2 years in a row. That doesn't seem to be even something we want to talk about. So if we can hold off this one more year, and then next year we'll have the figures in front of us to know what the rates should be in the first place. There'll be one rate increase. It may be a substantial one percentage-wise. In terms of absolute dollars, it's likely to be less than any property tax increase might involve. But it's something that we'll have to talk about and plan for very carefully. But I didn't want you to think that this is a year of no increase because of some reason other than we're trying to manage in this way what we know is coming to best advantage of everyone. I invite anybody at the table who wants to speak to please help me out here a little bit. Do you want to offer anything that the council might want to know that I haven't touched on?
Well, I mean, I think you've basically covered that we're significantly depleting our surplus, and we have a fairly small amount when we get to the end of the year, a year from now. And so, as Peter says, that we will need a significant increase next year, but we do have the ability to put that off a year.
Could you just review for us the amount of surplus we have now, what you anticipate at the end of the year?
Sure, because what we had at the start of the fiscal year, we had about $347,000. I estimate we'll have about $200,000 at the end of the year. At the end of next year, a year from now, I think we'll have about $70,000. So it will be, as I say, significantly depleted.
Do we have any of these projects, Dan, that you mentioned, where we're getting a lot of infiltration that would pay for themselves to do it?
Yeah, I budgeted to replace, there's one manhole at the end of Sawtell Road that's really bad. Fiberglass manhole they put in years ago, Jesse Brown put in it. Leak, real big time. And that was happened to be up there with Jeff Lowe and they were pouring out. It was 10 gallons a minute, he's coming in there. And I budgeted for Jack Stanley $5,000 last year to replace that manhole. They never got around to doing it. You know, plan on doing that. So that's, just try to do at least one manhole a year. You know, what we can afford.
I don't know how much it would cost to do that, do you have any idea?
About 5,000.
How much do you think that would save us from the amount of liquid we can pump in the water? Would anywhere near balance out, or
I think it would over 5 years.
5 years? I didn't know what to pay that.
If you can eliminate enough of these over time, it's gonna pay for itself.
Is this, how busy a year is this for our public works, or when we cut out some of our road building, if we have these projects available?
Yeah,
I don't know, if they're small enough, you know.
but we definitely have the capability, and Dan calls on the Public Works Department as needed, and Waterville Sewer District as needed. I have a, let's see what I want to say. I always think Public Works can help us with that, you know. I have a tendency to keep adding things to his pile. As they prepare for paving, right now, they're getting the paver set up. If you give me the bid tonight, which is done, I can get going on this. So he's currently trying to prepare for paving. Once school gets out, we've asked them to help with a parking lot project here at this location, which he's going to do. I can tell you a little later about a project behind the town office that may need some help. And the list is pretty much endless. The capability is there. I don't like to overpromise. The desire is there. They'll do anything they can to help. So as time goes by, I'd like to feel that out. But to just say, oh yeah, they can do it, that's maybe a little rash for me to stand here and offer.
And we didn't want that tonight, anyway.
But the capability and the willingness are there, and
I just think that, if they have time, if these projects pay for themselves, it would be worth looking out some of these smaller projects when he has time frame this evening.
the day of town meeting, he was over here on Pleasant Street with a storm drain that was collapsing. They were over there repairing that the day of town meeting. You just couldn't ignore it. At some point, you can't ignore these things. You have to drop what you're doing and respond. We do that. Once we have to, we try to get ahead of that curve.
Question for Dan, and just a guesstimate, or have you thought about what percentage of our flow to Waterville is through infiltration and cellar storm drains? Do you have a sense?
Well, the average flow, dry weather flow is about 200,000 gallons a day. And we average about 350. So it's,
And over the course of the year, how many days would you say we're up to that 350?
April, May, we're still at over 350 right now. We're not at a white year, but
So I guess part of Dana's question is, if we have, let's say, 40 days of 150,000, that amount of water costs us X amount of dollars, when does it become financially responsible to politically get people to get their storm water and sell it out of the sewer system and fix manholes? And I think what we have to do as a town probably is come up with ways of convincing residents to do that through some means or another. And
plus we still have a lot of clay tile pipe in the ground that's been in there since the 30s. And, clay tile, they gotta draw every 2 feet. you get high groundwater in the spring, you're gonna get a lot of water just from water leaking in the pipe. And replace all the old clay tile pipes in this town, and you don't even wanna know what that's
No, I don't.
In response to what Don was saying, I live in Waterville. Several years ago, we got this handy dandy letter in the mail saying, if you have basement drain, you get it out, you have it rerouted somewhere, or we're gonna charge you an extra $20 a month. Or a quarter, I'm sorry, a quarter.
30.
Is it 30? So, and they sent somebody around, we made an appointment, showed him that, no, we don't have a basement drain. But that's what they did, they sent a letter, and if they didn't comply with it, then they push charge extra.
Yeah, some people are just too proud, or I don't know if they got their salary, but they just won't let people in there. So what is that going on? Whatever. So they better pay the $20 a quarter.
Some people do,
But
Kathy,
at
that's
least you
just
get some,
too
at
cheap.
least you get some income out of it, you know?
Yeah.
That's something in town, I mean, I started doing some inspection, but we haven't put a fee. Just something to-
We have just under 800 sewer accounts in Oakland. The water that goes in is, in all but about 15 accounts, is measured either from the water company or people have wells and have meters. So we know how much sewage there is. There's about 60,000 cubic units, cubic unit being 748 gallons. Going up through Webb Road, this year will be somewhere in the range of about 150,000 cubic units. Plus, we have more going to Waterville via Kennedy Memorial Drive. So basically, it's maybe about 2/3 of what's going to Waterville is water that's infiltrating the system. It's not true sewage.
And all the infiltration that's coming in is not from K&D, that's all dry system up there, it's all new. So whatever goes from, your area, First Park and all that, that's also, so everything that comes into the old treatment plant is where we get the infiltration, the old system.
So I think it would make sense for the council, the town, the sewer, to try to come up with a plan, or at least talk about how we can either convince people to, they're paying the sewer rates, they're the ones who are going to have the increases, and if they are putting water into the sewer system that doesn't really need to be there, it behooves the town and them to come up with a different system. And I just, even though we're going to have an increase, and I realize that, if we can mitigate that by solving the problem, because the more water that goes through there, they have to treat it, so it does become an expense that really we should be avoiding if we can. If we look at some of the other towns, what they've done, it may be what we want to do, it may not. But I think we need to have a concerted effort to figure out a plan over the next year before the final rates and try to reduce the amount per month so that we can mitigate the increase as best we can.
We talked about our ordinance, and we, a year or so ago, and we didn't feel at that time we wanted to put a penalty on like water, I think it's where we went with the ordinance
I don't know about
at this time. But, I mean, that's something we certainly need to consider in the future, as expenses go up.
And Dan, you've had some success, but I think when we were talking, one of the streets that we've already done,
Yeah, Alpine Street, I found two big ones, there was, Alpine Street, one on Alpine Street, one on Libby Hill. They both had springs going in the cellar. One had a fuller drain, that went directly to the sewer. One had something on it, so I had them taken out. And that little pump station over there on Alpine Street, boy, it made a big difference. And that's just two houses, but like I said, there was a spring going in.
and, the council could have authorized or have the sewer increase with a temporary person if we don't have a person who has the time to do inspections because of the variety of issues.
Another issue is if you go into into a house by yourself, and you're looking for, you gotta be careful. There's a teenage girl, home alone. I'm not going in the house, you just gotta be careful what you do.
Well, the
Fortunately,
assessor said she did.
Fortunately, I won't be going anymore. Fortunately, most people in town know me, so it's not as bad, but it's probably a good idea to have, at least, I'll go and grab Bob from the public works or something like that. Just go with me, they don't, just to be there for a witness, so. It could get, it's just a bad situation.
That would be the goal.
I think most of the approval budget is prepared for us here for the ensuing year.
Move second, all in favor? So it was discussed, maybe gazebo, some form of responsibility.
Can I introduce that item? Is that too loud?
Yeah.
No, I'll introduce it. Okay. This is on your agenda.
Yeah.
Thank you, George. This idea for a gazebo at the boat launch was one that I thought perhaps we should ask your ideas about before we get too far into it. It's not the first time the idea has come up, but Jean Roy was in Paris. If you saw that one, that you sent the photos to us? In Paris. I made copies of the colors. I
Oh,
made
you
copies
did
of
already?
that. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, for the council.
I was too cheap to make copies.
Well, anyway, they got black and white from
I
you.
got-
You made color.
I got the site ones too. Did you get those too?
I don't think so. So, it's an enhancement to the community. When I was working in Wilton, the technical trades classes at the high school offered to do construction of the gazebo that was in Bass Park in Wilton. And so the tech department brought their kids over, and actually I think they worked on the thing and then trucked it over after it got built. And it didn't cost the town any money. So I asked Gene if he had any contacts with, Messalonskee High School that might be interested in doing a project like this, and lo and behold, there is some interest. Gene also very generously, or perhaps some other work applies to talk about maybe getting contributions or donations so that this wasn't an immediate cost to the town. And I thought at that point, gosh, he's got a great idea, he's got the photos, we have a location, we have someone willing to build it, if there's a possibility for doing it without expense to the town. He's got some of the elements here. Let's go to the town council and see if there's any favor for this, or a few reasons why we shouldn't proceed with this thinking, and come back to you with anything. There may be questions that you want addressed, that we could identify tonight. But I asked Gene if he wanted to come tonight and talk with us about it, and he would. You can tell us about
Okay,
Harrison.
well, this all goes back to when we first designed this place. If you remember, there was quite a conflict between swimmers and boaters in that area way back, because the kids swam where the boats went in. So we moved the launching area a little bit north, and we made a beach there. Originally, I thought it would be a good idea to have a gazebo there. I'd done a lot of camping in the Bridgeton area, and Bridgeton has a good-sized gazebo, and they have concerts every Wednesday night during the summer. Brings a lot of people into town. You know, their town is like our town. There's a lot of vacationers, a lot of people using their camps, and this brings them into town one night a week for a concert. I had envisioned concerts maybe with music camp, if we could interest them. People could they could sit in their lawn chairs on the lawn, or they could be out in their boats listening to the music. Other people might want to use it for events like weddings or picnics or something, if we had a gazebo there. So I'm bringing it up again. I met with the principal of the high school, Jonathan, and the tech ed teacher there, Bill Smith. They committed to a year-round, the entire school year, project, building this thing for us. So at that point then, we thought we're gonna come here and find out what your feelings about it. There's still a lot of, I will use them as like, permits maybe that we need for, construction that close to the lake. We'll need a gravel pad, that will be done by another job for the town crew. Bottom line. But beyond that, my feeling was that we would use donations to purchase the materials that the high school kids use to construct this Zabo. My feeling was that I would rather see small donations, rather than, I know it would be a lot easier if, say, somebody said, well, I'll donate all the money for this project. Boom, it's done. But if we can get people to donate small amounts of money, then I think you build a lot of ownership in it, and maybe you're less likely to have problems there. People watch over things if they have a vested interest in it. So that's just a few ideas I wanted to throw at you. I am not a fundraiser. I'm not even a person who could schedule events there, but somebody might be willing to do that. It was just an idea that I had that has worked in other towns.
How much
Yeah.
is comparing size to the one with Fairfield according to the top?
I don't know how big theirs is. I talked to Bill Smith about, we looked at this one that I showed you. We're thinking it's about 24 feet in diameter. Yeah, I don't know, I haven't taken any measurements. Any bigger than that, then you're gonna have maybe problems with that span, I don't like the roof on the one that I've got, the one that went around. Bill says it's a special roof made out of some kind, it's not all wood, there's something different about it. I just like a pitch roof on it, real simple. And I know, probably don't want to mention this, but the guy who just finished it, didn't he? Paid 45 grand. I think that's a lot of money. And if I get your blessing, and then we can give those assurances to the high school people, and then have them make up the bill of materials and find out what it's actually going to cost us for the materials to put this thing together. But I know it'll be a lot less than that.
Fairfield takes and they shrink out there, it's got quite a high heat on Fairfield.
Oh, yeah, and a little coupler or something on the top, but we're not looking for anything like that. The only thing Bill asked me about was whether he wanted a ceiling in it, rather than the rafters showing, we want to close that in. I said that would be a good idea. And also we need to run power to this building. For lights and stuff.
How do you feel about the security of the probably something else being there to watch?
Well, I would hope not, but I think it's a valid concept. It's actually that a lot of people paying, a small donation. There's some community ownership of this thing. That's a very good
Yeah.
thing for
You know, I
know.
won't be the people in the community that do it, so many people.
But you know what? I think some of the people in the community might pay a little more attention to
Yeah.
security.
Yeah, I feel that you can't not do something and be held hostage by people who damage things,
I mean, the reality is there are people out there
Yeah.
that are vandals, and that's what they do by trade, and that's sad. But we'll certainly do our best to keep an eye on it. And I think
And actually, the
community
park
will
closes at what time?
for wonderful project.
What time does the park close? Does it have hours? Dark, okay.
One of the things that we have thought about a little bit is who gets to use it and when. The public enjoys that facility now. There's a possibility that somebody having a big wedding takes over,
Yeah.
the area for a length of time, and other people say, gee whiz, we thought this was for everybody. So I asked the town of Winslow if they have a policy. I had a meeting at the Winslow town office. There's a gazebo right there by the Winslow town office. I guess they have a couple of them, right? For Halifax Park as well. And And they've got a little, our policy, you know, a little permit, and they at least make the public safety people aware that an event is planned. And there's a few little ground rules here, some costs are established if you want to collect some money like we do for Memorial Hall, and reasonable amounts are calculated for what it's going to cost for somebody to use the gazebo, if they want to have their wedding there, or there's going to be some kind of a musical presentation from somebody. People will probably want to use it for fundraising purposes. So there's a lot of things. I live in Winthrop, and there is one on North Cross Point, and there are some groups that put on Sunday afternoon concert, just the way that Gene describes. It's a nice thing, and you just got to be prepared that there are going to be, I'm going to say young people, but people will decide that they want to take some boards off it, carve it up, and keeping it maintained is part of the game. They will be that, and I don't want to break anybody's hearts when somebody breaks the first board on it. If it's going to happen, like Dean said, that shouldn't be a reason not to do it.
Just a question, how much, do you get any damage from picnic tables that are out there?
Yes.
Have some of them been replaced? Because I know we put picnic tables out there a long time ago. Probably some of them. Yeah.
Why they don't say there's some of this point.
Well, I still think that.
Present point's the same, I mean, it's.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
It's a disaster.
I wouldn't put my-
Zero.
Because they-
Yeah, my guys are always complaining about all the trash and stuff. I mean, it's supposed to be a carry in, carry out, so they carry it in. It doesn't often make it out in there, so it's sad. That's the reality.
Gee, would there be a lightning rod on it? I can see people flying through it in the lightning.
I don't know. The trees around it be taller than the building, so. Yeah. Didn't think
I
about
make a
that.
motion that we would give Dean permission to proceed on this, and, what we do, come back to this, when we've got a cost, and see what.
I'll come up with some drawings and a copy. That's what they'll do for us. And it's gonna take an entire year.
Yeah.
We're not in a hurry to do this. The kids are gonna get something out of this. And I wanna tell you, you get high school kids involved in this project and they'll help protect it, because when we put picnic tables out on the trail a number of years ago, there's some tough kids in the class. And they left those picnic tables out there, and then they said, you know, if anybody messes with these tables, they'll have to answer to us. And you know what, those tables have been there for 4 years now, and not a broken piece on them.
Motion is made, do we have a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Thank you.
Get a hold of the law office.
I'm sorry, what?
Get a hold of the law office.
Okay, all right.
Fundraising and, item number 8.
You haven't given the library report yet, have
I don't know.
you? Okay, I'll stick around.
It's a good move.
Run. You know the best ones, you shuffle, right?
Yes, we do, we get to that back. Well, maybe not.
There you go.
Wow. Great.
Pretty slow. Next item is discuss the measures to enforce the town of Sydney for unpaid balance.
I would introduce that item by just informing you that the last payment we have paid until the end of 2013. There have been 2 billings since, for the first 3 months and the second 3 months of this year. And those are unpaid at this time.
Anyone have any thoughts or processes on that? We'll leave it at that also.
Good ask, good question.
Do we know the process? We both are the same way.